When you think about culture, you think about language. What differentiates humans from across the world would be the language. What else in culture tells us where we're at? We're here for the wine. Wine is culture, and culture is wine. We're here in Armenia, a small country that makes incredible wine, now getting worldwide recognition because of its complexity and its story. Over 6,000 years ago, we know wine existed in Armenia, and here we are in a little town called Voskevaz, at the winery called Voskevaz, showing what culture in wine creates. I have to ask you about this medieval idea. Where did that come from?
In general, this was the idea of all three of us. I came up with the idea of how I wanted it to be, and my elder brother, Hovhannisyan, brought it to life on paper. We made our first attempt, and as it was successful, he sent new sketches that were more complicated and costly. And that's how it all started.
Even in the worldwide part of wine, Bordeaux, France, Burgundy, California, Napa, it doesn't matter. I've never seen a facility as interesting and fun to be at as this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really great. So you were mentioning that this place started in 1932.
From the Soviet period till now, this building is the one that we've preserved, since it's a very solid construction. This is where the wine aging process took place then, and now it's also used for the same purpose.
See, so this must have been where the grapes came down?
No, barrel.
Oh, the barrels came down.
Yes.
Wow. I love the smell of a barrel room. These are French oak, American, Artsakh.
Previously, we used French barrels as well, from Ségon-Moreau, but the Artsakh barrels are something unique. And the wine that is aged in those barrels is very distinct. The same wine is different if aged in the Artsakh barrels versus the American barrels. It has a softer, unique taste.
Chateau Voskevaz. Français.
Initially, it went something like this. Our partner that deals with the selling of the wines came up with the idea of naming it Chateau Voskevaz. But that only lasted for a very short time, because we realized that chateau took us in another direction, and we don't want to borrow names from other countries.
Wine should be about where it's from. They could have borrowed from the world French names, familiar grapes, safe stories, but here, that was never the goal. It isn't about imitation, it's about identity.
We don't have European grape varieties in our production. We have the Armenian barrels, grapes, jars, and the Armenian approach to winemaking. Many countries are using the same 2, 3, or 10 grape varieties, while the Armenian Areni, Voskehat, Tozot, and Kangun are a novelty for the world.
So this is from the USSR, this structure here, in this barrel room. And what were they making during the USSR times?
They kept the sherry wines here. This spot received about 2,000 tons of grapes every year. Wine material was produced here, which was sent to the central part, which is located in the Oshagan village. That was the biggest factory in this region. It was built in 1954, while this factory was built in 1932. Its main purpose was to produce sherry wine and send it to Russia. Along with that, they made other wines in very small quantities. We seem to have changed our path because we don't want to have different types of wines, and sherry doesn't allow you to work comfortably in the same area. There's always a risk of infection with sherry fungi. We had in mind to restore all of this, but for that, we're going to have to build another production section, which won't have any connection with these cellars, so we can avoid future problems related to fungi. If you look at the walls, there's fungi on them, but those fungi aren't the dangerous ones. They really help to maintain this microclimate correctly. We don't want to eliminate them. They stay and live with us, between these parts of the walls. When we discovered this place, we realized that we had quite a large market for promoting Armenian wines. 27 years have passed since that day. If back then we were selling 60,000 bottles daily, now we sell approximately 300 to 350,000 bottles of wine annually, which is quite low compared to the potential we had at the time. But the wine that we produce is quite a difficult product in terms of purchasing. We can't do everything that Chile, Argentina, and South Africa can allow themselves to do. They have quite cheap wines there. Spain sells wines for dimes throughout the world. Armenia has no right to do such a thing because our land area is quite small, and to occupy space, grow grapes, and produce low-quality wine, cheap wine, that at the very least is a crime against winemaking.
The marketing of wine and the passion it takes to make wine are two different things entirely. When you wake up in the morning, what's in your mind to come here knowing it's a slow business, you only get one chance a year to make wine, but you want to impress the consumer, you want the world to know about Armenian wine, do you want Armenians to know about Voskevaz, do you want the Russians to know about Voskevaz? What's in your brain when you wake up to come to work and make this happen?
The work is quite extensive, and for example, the main function that I've taken upon myself is to monitor all these countries to ensure sales are performed normally and representation remains quite high. It's very difficult because our winemaking is new to the world, although for approximately 15 years, with daily work, all winemakers together, not just Voskevaz, have worked as one big team. Everyone within their capabilities does work to promote Armenian wine in other countries. This is our biggest challenge. When these countries recognize Armenia as a winemaking country, then our work will become much easier. Because we have a very important fact. These are local grapes, aboriginal grapes, which only grow in Armenia's territory.
For Armenia, wine isn't new. In fact, it's ancient. But history hasn't always been so kind. For decades, this culture was pushed aside, its vineyards reduced, its identity blurred. And what remains today is being rebuilt.
For us, the most important, most fundamental year that gave greater opportunities and desires was 2014, when wine made in Armenia from Armenian variety Areni Noir grapes received a gold medal in Germany and was declared Armenia's best wine. That inspired everyone, and from that day until now, we haven't stopped, and we're working to achieve more and more successes.
Amazing. All karas, but not all your wine is karas. Some of it is in karas, some's not.
We have a special clay vessel collection, the karas collection, which is preserved and fermented in karases. 5 out of 17 of Voskevaz's types of wine are made in karases. The youngest vessel is from 1910 and the oldest is from 1876.
So that's very interesting because amphora, the other word, is now very popular in the wine trade all over the world. Everybody experimenting with amphora. But this is a very ancient part of the Armenian winemaking history. They found karas at the Arani cave. And so to me, it's interesting that it's coming back to traditional methods and ideas to make wine.
The karases found in the Arani cave speak of more than 6,000 years of Armenian winemaking history, and it was in these karases that they discovered grape seeds, which helped determine the age. Centuries have passed, different historical periods have passed over Armenia, and the worst era for winemaking was during the Soviet Union, when Armenia was deprived of the right to produce wine. They were eliminating all types of vineyards in Armenia because the Russians had declared the dry law, which was a fight against alcohol. They allowed Armenia to produce cognac, while the entire wine sector was given to Georgians. The Georgians gained quite a reputation worldwide, while Armenians remained as cognac producers. That's why it's very difficult for us to achieve in a short time what our neighboring brotherly country, Georgia, has achieved. Regarding returning to our winemaking roots, let me tell you, working with karases is quite complex work. It's completely different from working with stainless steel containers or wooden barrels. That's an easier process than karas winemaking, and it's very difficult to collect this many in one place. New ones aren't being produced anymore. We collect as many as possible from all over Armenia and bring them to the factory, preserving them for future generations. We have karases that aren't being used. These will replace those karases that might become unusable over time.
Karasi collection.
Yeah. All nines, that's great.
Karas collection. It's white. You do the white ones last so they don't get dirty. The wax seal is applied and it remains in a lying position until it goes to sale.
Something interesting that you said in the amphora karas, that it's more difficult to process, which we know because of the oxygen and the way it's processing. But I find it interesting that our ancestors knew how to use it, and now we're relearning how to use it to produce wines that people are going to say, oh, this must be Armenia, this must be Voskevaz.
They were closer to nature than we are, closer to God than now. What we now find in excavations, we wonder how thousands of years ago people were able to master all this, to know information about all this. I think it's the result of experiments that led to what they achieved in that period, both the type and form of karases. Different countries have amphora. Georgians have kvevri. We have karas. But if you look, the structure is very different from all the others. I don't know why everyone doesn't have the same thing. If the experiment was done, then they found that this type is needed in this region.
But history alone doesn't move a story forward. People do. And here, it's not just about preserving the past, it's about giving it a future. This is unreal. Okay? It's like Disneyland. Right?
Little.
Little, yeah. What's very important in our industry is an experience, because the internet has changed everything when we sell wine, right? And so we want people to remember the experience of Voskevaz. I know for me, when I come here, having come here, when I open a bottle of Voskevaz at home, I'm going to remember this. And I'll tell my friends, I was there and I tasted this wine and I went to this medieval village. Is that why you did this? For people to have an experience, which we need today in wine?
Իմաստը հենց դրանում էր, որ յուրաքանչյուր մարդ ով
Each person who buys and drinks wine has some impressions about it. But regarding history, they don't receive any information while drinking the wine, except what the sommelier will tell them about what type it is, what product, how this wine was made. Our idea in doing all of this was precisely so that when you drink Voskevaz, you remember this region. That's the most important marketing step, because this won't be forgotten. You will go and tell your friends, and they'll express a desire to come see with their own eyes what's being built in Armenia. And this is everyday work that will bring results decades later. That Voskevaz wines will be sold and accepted by people in many countries. We want to pause for a moment, take a breath, because we've done quite extensive work. Regarding the memories you mentioned, this building also plays a very big role. This is a school, an art school on the factory grounds, where children are brought and various master classes are conducted with them. Painting, music. In the future, we want there to be language classes. If you wish, you can see that too.
My son.
Oh, nice to meet you. It's my pleasure. What I've seen here is very passionate, and that's what it takes to do this, because it's slow, it's complicated. There's two parts to the business. There's marketing, but there's the love of making wine. And you do it for the next generation. It's very European, the French, the Italians, not as much the Americans, but they want the next generation. They do this for the next generation. And it's been an honor and a pleasure to be here and hear the story. But I understand there's another generation coming, to Voskevaz. Do you love it here?
Of course.
Yes. And are you passionate like your father is about?
Yes, everything is starting from a simple link in your heart and it continues all over your life.
I mean, most of the conversation we've had is about how difficult this industry is, and you're in a difficult part of the world to do it, to get the world to know about these wines, which I think are some of the best made here in Armenia, frankly. And you're ready to carry that torch and make it go on.
Of course, I have a simple goal to make it a thing of a generation. So my biggest wish is to see how my next generations will continue this job.